إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له واشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله فقال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال الله تعالى يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم ما بعد. The Prophet Allah mentioned the most in the Quran is Musa alayhi salam by name, and his story and his stories are mentioned the most frequently in the Quran. The irony is that the second half of the story of Musa alayhi salam are his qawm, Bani Israel, and they're mentioned in the Quran not primarily for how religious, pious, and devoted they were to Allah and His Nabi, but the opposite. They are mentioned an example what not to do, how not to disobey Allah and how not to anger and upset your own prophet. And they are famous for doing that. Allah blessed the ummah of, or the people of Ishaq alayhi salam, rather his progeny, in that from the time of Ishaq alayhi salam all the time to Isa alayhi salam, they always had a living Nabi amongst them. How do we mean by that? Before a Nabi would pass away, Allah would shift the prophethood from him to somebody else. Yani they will always have a Nabi ready to take over before the first one, the previous one passes away. So in this regard, if modern day Jews say we are the chosen people, let's be clear about this. They were the chosen people. Yes, they were. But they were. With the advent of Muhammad, Allah chose and gave the leadership of religiosity from Bani Ishaq to Bani Ismail. He switched, but obviously they have not accepted that. Having said that, this idea of them being a qawm who were a test for their Nabi is mentioned multiple different ways. And one of the ways they were a difficulty and a test for their own Rusul, not just a Nabi, was that they would be known to be people who were cowardly. That's the best way to describe it. Not all of them, and not entire generations of them, but many amongst the generations, many amongst the qawm throughout history have shown remarkable cowardliness, and something that is shown here in the Quran as well. Allah mentions in the Quran, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ يَا قَوْمِ اذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ جَعَلَ فِيكُمْ أَنْبِيَاءَ وَجَعَلَكُمْ مُلُوكًا وَآتَاكُمْ مَا لَمْ يُؤْتِ أَحَدًا مِنَ الْعَالَمِينَ. It's a very poignant ayah. Musa alayhi salam, and mentioned when Musa alayhi salam to his people, "O my people, remember Allah's favors upon you, and He sent from you Anbiya, prophets, and He sent from you kings." Yani you are a people who are extremely preferred, you are a people who are extremely prestigious, you are a people who have been given distinction over other aqwam, over other nations. And how was Allah giving you distinction? By sending prophets and kings from you. Yani you are a people of great izzah. And He gave you things that He gave to nobody else in all of creation. And Musa alayhi salam further continues, "Ya qawm, udkhulul ard al-muqaddasa allati kataba Allahu lakum, wa la tartaddu ala adbarikum fatanqalibu khasirin." And he further mentions this izzah, and he uses the motivation that he gave them, that you are people from a preferred station in human history. He motivates them to go and take the Holy Land. Because when this event happened, they had been expelled from Al-Muqaddas, Al-Ard al-Muqaddas, the Holy Land, which is Jerusalem. And Musa alayhi salam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, you are the honored people. From you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extracted al-Anbiya and Muluk and kings. Go and take the Holy Land. I mean, you exert yourself, you fight and take the Holy Land. This is your haqq. The Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has preferred you with it, and this is what He's destined for you. Listen to the response. They said, قالوا يا موسى. They said, O Musa, إِنَّا فِيهَا قَوْمًا جَبَّارِينَ وَإِنَّا لَن نَدْخُلَهَا حَتَّى يَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا فَإِنْ يَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا فَإِنَّا دَاخِلُونَ. The most ridiculous response you can imagine. They say, O Musa, listen, right now, the Holy Land is captured by people who we consider to be extremely powerful. And there's no possibility we'll make any effort to go to the Holy Land and enter it. But if they need the Holy Land, then we'll go over there. This ayah is not talking about necessarily jihad. The focus is something else. How they perceive themselves. It's a matter of identity, perception. What do they think of themselves? This story is actually found in the Bible itself in more detail, and none of those details actually contradict any of the Quran or the Aqidah. And the story is actually found in the book of Numbers, verse 13. The people respond to Moses. They said, to them, Qawman Jabbari, the people who are currently occupying the land, to them, we are like grasshoppers. And we think of ourselves the way they think of themselves, or the way they think of us. So for us, they think of us as we are grasshoppers, insects. That's how they think of us. So if they think so lowly of us, we actually think of that ourselves. In other words, there is no possibility we're going to make the effort and take the Holy Land. One more time. The purpose to this khutbah is to make you understand one thing. How you think of yourselves determines your station amongst other people's perception of you. How you get together and acquire and achieve things demonstrates what others think of you, and how a people's inaction causes others to think less of them. Like Bani Israel immediately gave up. When Musa a.s., their Nabi is saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is destining for you, go and take the land, they said, we are like grasshoppers to those people, we're not going to do that. When they leave, then we'll go over there. One of the easiest ways, not just to control people, to influence people, to have an impact on how they think, is to tell them what they should be thinking. One more time. One of the ways to influence people is to tell them what they should be thinking. Now you may say, what are you doing as a khatib? You're exactly telling us something about religion. Are you trying to do the same thing? I'm merely relaying the information as all the khutbah before me have done, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told you about yourselves. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you about yourself, that is correct. If other nations tell you about something that is not true, then that is incorrect and you should repel. I'll give an example of how perception controls a person's self-worth, self-identity. It's a famous study done by UC Berkeley. The study is very well known, actually, you can Google it easily. It's 25 years ago, they did a study of all the African American youths in that college. UC Berkeley is the 4th university in all the world. Right now, you can go to US News, which ranks universities of the world. Go check the report right now. Till this day, is the 4th ranked university in the world. All the world, I'm not talking about America only, is the most prestigious university, 4th in ranking. This highly prestigious university has a large section of student body that are African American youths. So notice one thing, through the college campus, many African American youths will be walking while they're dribbling a basketball. Going between classes, going to the dorm room, meeting friends, going to the cafeteria, they're dribbling a basketball. What's interesting is they're secretly conducting one-to-one interviews with these young men. Many of them fully admitted, we have no interest in basketball. Quite a few of them cannot play basketball. Why do they do this? Is because for them, one of the ways in which a successful young black man was identified in their community was that he is good at sports. Not just any sports, basketball. It's a matter of identity, how they perceive themselves. Look how the study further continued. They concluded something. They said, if you collect the doctors in America who are African American, you collect all the basketball professionals in all the leagues, amateur and professional leagues, the number of African American doctors far more than the number of African American players in all the leagues combined in America. Which means, as an African American youth in America today, you have a greater chance of becoming a doctor than a basketball player. Matter of perception, self-identity, how they think of themselves. Brothers and sisters, I want you to understand this. The reason I'm mentioning all of these things, these studies in khutbah, the khutbah is here this. How you and I perceive ourselves. When we think of ourselves as Muslims, Are we only thinking that we are the chosen people, or that we are not just chosen in religiosity, but we are chosen to be the leader of mankind? And indeed we are. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. Allah SWT says this in the Quran. And we have created you a middle nation. We're going to talk about this moment. A middle nation. And you are the shuhada. You are the witnesses and testify against or in favor of all other people throughout history. Throughout history. And we will be asked to testify against people on the Day of Judgment. But what's interesting is, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. We are a middle nation. We are a people who do not prefer extremes in politics, in social affairs, in religious behavior, in any action. We always stick to the middle course. We investigate and we check everything before we jump into something. One of the ways we can change the perception of people, as I said before, is to tell them how to think, what to say and what to do. Think about this. The marketing industry, brothers and sisters, is a multi-billion-dollar industry spread out across the world. In fact, many modern day sociologists say that America, today modern America's greatest export is marketing. How to tell people what they should consume, what they should wear, where they should go to party, where should they go to vacation, what airlines they should take, and how they should decorate their homes. This is my ideal perception. I have done. We, inshallah, end the first part of the khutbah with a question. I don't want you to answer the question to be just think about this, inshallah. How does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our Rasul tell us to find our self-worth? Where does He ask us to find izzah for ourselves and our community? In the second part of the khutbah, we investigate this. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم النبيين والإمام المرسلين حبيبنا ونبينا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. The first question which a Muslim should ask, especially the young Muslim should ask, especially if they go to college, they will be asked, because their friends are asking the same question to themselves. Why are we here? What is the purpose of our creation? Why have we been generated on this earth? And this is a question that is asked by people of religion and people of no religion. How simple Allah SWT has made this answer for us in the Quran. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِ. I have not created jinn or the men except that they may worship me. The purpose of our creation, brothers and sisters, is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the first thing and the most important thing. The only thing and the only way forward for us is to understand this aspect. The only thing that matters for us at the end of the day, before we die, is how well we have worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and whether we have fulfilled the purpose of our creation. If we have done that, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted Jannah. May Allah make us all amongst those people. Say Ameen. And on the Day of Judgment, a lot of these people against whom we will be shuhada will be those who have not fulfilled the purpose of their creation. They have not worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Think about this. As a qawm, we are the only qawm on earth today. Actually, for 1,000 years, we're the only qawm on earth that worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way He has asked us to worship Him, where He has asked us to worship Him, and when He asks us to worship Him. Every other qawm disagrees in one of these things, sometimes more than one thing. They either worship their Rabb, a Rabb that they invented, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way they want to worship Him, or the places that they want to worship Him, or the times they feel convenient to worship Him. We are the only qawm who get up before the sun gets up, in a matter of speaking, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, we recommend it to get up with tahajjud, which is in the middle of the night, if we can hope to do so, if we want to be among the true successful ones within our own ummah. Imagine this. We are the people who sacrifice time to come for Jummah on a work day, and we have to find all excuses to tell our superiors, we are coming here because we need to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, there's a reason why we are a chosen ummah. It's because we are the ones who are maintaining one aspect of existence, one aspect of identity. We are abidun, and we are ubad. We are worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His slaves, and we will be devoted to Him. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned this point in Sahih Muslim as well. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَى صُوَرِكُمْ وَأَمْوَالِكُمْ وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. Allah SWT does not look at your physical appearance or your wealth or your property or your prestige. Rather, He looks at your hearts and your actions. And this is very true, especially on the Day of Judgment, where the only currency we will have will be clean hearts and plentiful good deeds. The second way in which we can find self-worth and identity, in which we can connect as an ummah together, in which we think about others before ourselves, is if we study the seerah, the biography of the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. You will see this theme repeated again and again and again. Preferring others over oneself, taking care of others over yourself, banding together for that which is good, and banding together to stay away from that which is evil. That also is an aspect of a strong ummah, of people who have good self-worth. Number 3, whenever we make dua, in our religion we always advise, when it comes to good deeds, be as selfish as you can. You be the one who does the cleaning of the masjid. Don't allot it to him or her if you have the time and the ability to do so. You take the responsibility of taking care of your father. Don't let your sibling do it. You be the one who gives sadaqah the most, even if you invited others for the fundraising in the masjid. You take the lead. The same goes for dua. When you make dua first and foremost, make dua for yourself. For sure, because no one else can make dua for you better than you can. No one else can have the same sincerity in their dua the same way you can for yourself. And then make dua for your close family members. And make dua for your friends, your colleagues, your extended family members. And also make dua for the ummah at large. The entire ummah needs your dua. In fact, this is something Allah SWT illustrates in the Quran. In Surah Al-Hashr, when He says, رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا وَلِإِخْوَانِنَا الَّذِينَ سَبَقُونَا بِالْإِيمَانِ. Look how wide Allah SWT has spread out the dua for us to make. He says, Oh Allah, we seek forgiveness for you and forgiveness for those who preceded us in Iman. All the Muslims from the time of Muhammad and before Muhammad were true believers of Allah from any qawm. We make dua for them. May Allah forgive them. And by the way, we know this from the Sunnah of the Prophet that we also make dua for all the Muslims who have not come, for our successive generations. We make dua for them as well. Ila yawmiddin. Fourth option. Every single time, in order for us to have good self-worth, we need to elect good leaders. Let us understand this is so important. Leaders, imams guide us to things which are good. And they also guide us to things which are evil. Always understand this. That's why we need to find the qualified people to take spots which will be an impactful position for the ummah. And I'll tell you something else. There is a criterion which we as Muslims always prefer. Whenever we have two people, equal qualifications, we always choose the one who's stronger in iman. We always choose the one who's more righteous. We always take the one who's more respectable and more devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To the extent the scholars say, if there are two people who are nearly matched, and this one is slightly better, but this one is more muttaqi, select him. Because the one who's less, even if he does not know the answer, he will not guess to your question. He will find somebody who can answer your question. He will find somebody who will find a solution for your problem. Fifth, and the final way, brothers and sisters, is to find good role models. If we have good role models in our lives, we always yearn to imitate them. And the best role model, as you know for sure, is our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and his Sahaba, and his wives, and his companions, and their children, and the noble Imams who followed them in righteousness and piety, and the rest of the Ummah who has been following and continuing to do so. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those people who are known as people who are Imams of the Muttaqeen. اللهم اجعلنا للمتقين إماما. Say Ameen to that. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع مجيب الدعوات. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة.